Do you ever find yourself in the position where you want to make some food, but all the spatulas are dirty? I could do the dishes, or I could make one instead. It's Matt from Black Coal Woodworking. Today, we're obviously going to be making a spatula because I don't have any clean ones. I start out by marking out what I want to cut on a piece of rough lumber. This happens to be about 3/4 inch thick and probably about 3.5 inches wide. At the bandsaw, I set my fence so that when I run it through for the handle, I can flip it and have a centered piece in the middle. That left just the angled sides to cut so that I have my handle. See, it's already starting to look right. Next was to cut it down in thickness. In this case, I'm doing the same thing where I can set my fence, flip the piece, and I've got a centered spatula in the middle. Just need to trim off the waste, and then I can take this over to the lathe. At the lathe, I get a little creative with clamping this thing in the 4-jaw chuck, just kind of centering it by eye. I put the point back in the tailstock so I could properly pinch the spatula between the centers. Using the skew chisel, it's time to give this handle some shape. At this point, I've got it pretty round, but it still feels like I'm holding a bat. So, gotta keep going. Using the heel of the skew chisel, I round off the end as well. To shape the full part of the spatula here, you're really hitting a lot of air and wood, so I went really slow, trying to not get a catch. I think I did pretty good. Even though it did catch a few times, it wasn't anything violent, just sort of skated back on me. Skew chisels don't usually do inside corners like this very well, so the toughest part that I found was getting this corner to work well without having some big cut mark in it. I did a lot more shaping on the handle, got rid of the bat feel, and got it down to the point where it felt pretty thin, but still strong enough to hold. I still have a little ways to go on this part of the spatula because there's a knot that came out, and I'm pretty sure I can cut most of it away. I'm not going to focus on the sanding a whole lot, it's really just sanding. The finish I'm using here is a food safe walnut oil and beeswax. I'm just kind of rubbing it in with my fingers, and then I use that's actually a paper towel. I've just used it a few times on walnut, so that's why it's dark. Probably should have got a clean one, but it worked out well. So after the handle's been narrowed down quite a bit, I need to take some more bulk out of the joint between the handle and the flat part of the spatula. The best way for me to do that was at the bandsaw. Now we're getting very close to that final shape I'm looking for. The only thing left here with the actual shape is to give it an angle. And that's just so it feels a little more ergonomic when you hold it down in the frying pan. The rest of the process for the spatula involves a hand sander like I showed you there. So that part's almost done. I started with a 60 grit just to do some sort of carving, and then finished up with 180 grit, and then applied the rest of my finish. You can see the edge that I got here. I sanded it pretty thin, but not so thin that it'll break right away. Time to test it out. I'm making a quick omelet. It cuts butter just fine, as like the dullest of knives should. I got it nice and flat on the end, so I found that I could very easily scrape butter around. My next challenge was, can I pick up an egg on the frying pan, slide underneath it, kinda can. It's definitely grippier than a metal spatula, but I didn't have to clean one. Scrambling eggs works good too. There's a salt bowl that I made. Not sure if I had a video on that one actually, but I do have another video on ones like it. That edge again is sharp enough to cut eggs very easily and very nicely. That was actually quite a pleasure. And the rest is history. Thanks for watching and happy breakfast. I mean, making.